This right here is why tanks are dying. Cheap drones, top attack missiles, loitering munitions, multi-million-dollar armor erased in seconds. In Ukraine, even Russia's most modern tanks have been hit from above, where protection used to be an afterthought. Now imagine you're inside that turret. You hear nothing, you see nothing, and then... Now here's the twist. Just weeks ago, in January 2026, at the Detroit Auto Show of all places, the US Army pulled the cover off something new. Not a parade tank, not a minor upgrade, a next-generation Abrams designed specifically for this battlefield. Lighter, hybrid-ready. Crew sealed inside an armored capsule. Built around drone warfare from day one, this is the M1E3 Abrams. And this isn't just a new tank reveal, it's a signal. Because what was shown in Detroit isn't about looking impressive under spotlights, it's about surviving the sky. And wait until you see what they did to the turret. For decades, tanks were built for frontal duels, thick glacis plates, heavy cannons, massive engines. The M1E3 Abrams, over 70 tons, powered by a 1,500 horsepower AGT-1500 gas turbine. Fast, brutal, hungry. But Ukraine didn't care about tank duels. Ukraine weaponized the sky. Drones turned open fields into glass boxes. FPVs dive from above. Loitering munitions circle patiently. ATGMs punch down into roof armor. Ukraine didn't just damage tanks. It exposed them. It exposed their heat, their noise, their logistics, their blind spots. It proved that the sky now gets a vote in every engagement. Suddenly, survivability wasn't about who had thicker steel. It was about who was visible first. The issue wasn't just armor, it was thermal signature. It was fuel logistics. It was noise. It was weight. A 70-ton platform that glows like a furnace in infrared, that's an easy target in a drone war. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Even Western tanks would struggle in that environment without adaptation. So instead of stacking more armor and pushing toward 80 tons, the Army pivoted. Meet the 5th generation Abrams, the M1E3, and this is where it gets serious. First shocker, it's lighter. Target weight, roughly 54 to 66 tons depending on configuration. That's potentially over 10 tons lighter than the heaviest M1A2 variants. Why does that matter? Bridges, strategic transport, acceleration, repositioning under fire. Mobility isn't comfort, mobility is survival. But here's where we sharpen the facts. You might have heard that the M1E3 ditches the turbine. Not yet. The January 2026 prototype still runs the AGT-1500 gas turbine, but the direction is clear. The Army is moving toward a hybrid electric future, and that changes everything. The goal isn't just efficiency, it's silent watch, less fuel burden, reduced thermal output, lower acoustic signature, not invisible, but harder to detect. Instead of a screaming turbine announcing its position, imagine a 66-ton machine creeping forward with only the faint hum of electric assist. Picture this. You're a drone operator scanning tree lines. You're hunting heat. You're listening for engine roar. And this thing, it's quieter, cooler, less obvious. It doesn't eliminate risk. It shrinks the window. And in drone warfare, seconds are everything. But the engine isn't the boldest move. The turret is. Here's where people got surprised in Detroit. The turret isn't tiny. It isn't sleek and futuristic. In fact, it's still large. Why? Because it houses an autoloader, advanced sensors, and integrated active protection hardware. But here's the critical shift. The turret is unmanned, empty. The crew, 3 soldiers, sit side by side inside an armored capsule in the hull, not in the turret basket, under the thickest armor, in front. Traditional tanks put humans inside the turret. If that turret takes a catastrophic hit, you get the jack-in-the-box effect. We've all seen that footage. The M1E3 solves that differently. If the turret is struck, the crew isn't sitting on ammunition. They're protected in a reinforced hull cell with spall liners and blast mitigation. That's not cosmetic. That's a survival philosophy shift. And controlling that unmanned turret feels like something pulled from a simulator. High-resolution displays, 360-degree camera arrays, thermal feeds, laser warning receivers, sensor fusion layered into one interface. Every crew member can pull up targeting feeds, maps, drone data, weapons control. It's not just armor thickness, it's information dominance. But if you think that's the biggest change, wait until we break down how this tank disrupts Russia's entire kill chain, because that's where this stops being hype and starts looking like a doctrine nightmare. If you are enjoying this video so far, hit that like and subscribe button right now. Let's strip the emotion out of this. Modern armored warfare isn't random, it's procedural. Ukraine revealed the pattern, a pattern that can be studied, replicated, optimized, and the Ukraine war exposed a repeatable pattern that has destroyed hundreds of vehicles. Step 1. Detection. A small reconnaissance drone goes up. Cheap, disposable, quiet. It doesn't attack. It watches, it spots engine heat, movement, dust. Coordinates are sent. That's it. The tank hasn't fired a single round. Now, this is where the M1E3 shifts the equation. The current prototype still runs a turbine, yes, but the Army's direction toward hybrid electric systems is about one thing: reducing signature, lower heat, lower noise, lower idle profile during silent watch. It doesn't make the tank invisible, but it shortens the time between detection and repositioning. And when survival is measured in seconds, that matters. Step 2. Bracketing. Once the drone confirms location, artillery doesn't aim for perfection. The goal isn't instant destruction, it's immobilization. Force the tank to stop, force it to hide, force it to wait, and once it waits, the sky fills. Here's where mobility becomes armor. At 54 to 66 tons, the M1E3 is lighter than the heaviest Abrams variants. Better acceleration, better repositioning, less strain on infrastructure. It's harder to pin down. And when something does get through, that's where the tank's integrated active protection system steps in. Incoming ATGM, detected, hard kill intercept. Incoming guided munition, soft kill disruption. Instead of absorbing the hit, it tries to erase it midair. Step 3. Swarm. FPV drones with explosive payloads. Operators steering them like racing simulators. They don't care about your frontal armor. They dive at the turret roof, the engine deck, the rear angles. Now here's the pivot. The turret isn't where the crew lives anymore. It's empty. Large, yes, because it houses autoloaders and sensors, but unmanned. If it takes a hit, the 3-person crew remains inside a reinforced hull capsule at the front, lower, more protected. And that matters psychologically too, because crew survivability changes operational confidence. Plus, the remote weapon station on the 2026 prototype isn't some sci-fi laser. It's practical. A 40mm Mark 19 grenade launcher, a javelin launcher integrated on the station, flexible, modular. The 40mm grenades aren't just for infantry, they're airburst insurance against swarms, ready for adaptation. That's not a fantasy upgrade, that's what was physically shown. Step 4. Finish. If bracketing and FPVs don't finish the job, a loitering munition waits, circling, watching for that moment when the tank pauses too long, then it dives. Ukraine proved how devastating that overhead attack can be. So the M1E3 integrates upgraded roof protection, modular armor solutions, and an APS-centric architecture designed specifically for this threat environment. But here's where it flips the logic. Abrams testing has included modules capable of launching loitering munitions like Switchblade drones. So instead of only defending, it projects. You detect the anti-tank team before they fire, you send a drone. You disrupt the chain before it completes. The M1E3 isn't trying to dominate tank duels from the 1990s. It's engineered to interrupt the process that defines 2020's warfare. And if you're analyzing this from a Russian doctrinal perspective, it's not panic. That's a strategic problem, because the system that's been effective relies on that chain working cleanly, and this design is built to inject friction at every stage. Now let's talk firepower, because none of this matters if it can't still hit hard. Main gun, still 120mm smoothbore, compatible with advanced US multi-purpose ammunition, with growth potential toward larger calibers in the future if required. Autoloader replaces the traditional human loader, 3 crew instead of 4. Faster cycling, more compact crew layout, reduced manpower burden. And let's be precise here. While concepts have discussed 30mm anti-drone cannons, the 2026 prototype features a remote station equipped with a 40mm Mk19 grenade launcher and javelin integration. That matters, because it shows flexibility. The architecture is modular. Weapons can evolve. And that's the theme of the entire M1E3 concept. Adaptability over brute mass. M1A2S EPV3, 70+ tons, 4 crew, gas turbine only, add-on APS. The M1E3, however, 54 to 66 tons target, 3 crew and armored capsule, hybrid-ready direction, integrated APS architecture, drone-era survivability focus. This isn't the death of tanks, it's their recalibration. Now here's why that matters strategically. Modern Russian doctrine blends artillery dominance with drone reconnaissance and distributed anti-armor teams. The M1E3 doesn't make armor invincible, but it raises the cost of destroying it. Lower fuel demand reduces vulnerable logistics tails. Crew capsule increases survivability after penetration. APS disrupts guided weapons. Hybrid direction reduces signature exposure over time. Modular open systems architecture enables faster upgrades than traditional overhaul cycles. If NATO armored forces begin restructuring around this concept, that's not a headline. That's a shift in future planning assumptions. Because now the question isn't, are tanks obsolete? It's, can you afford to ignore this evolution? And the answer to that question will shape armored warfare for the next decade. Let's go back inside the tank, because steel is only half the story. The other half is information. The M1E3's 3 crew members sit side by side in a protected hull capsule, not stacked vertically, not split between hull and turret, together under the thickest frontal armor. That layout changes coordination instantly. Everyone sees the same battlefield picture. Multifunction displays pull in, thermal feeds, 360-degree camera arrays, laser warning alerts, navigation overlays, targeting data. It's not one soldier peering through a sight anymore. It's a fused, shared view of the fight. And this is where the modular open systems architecture matters. Because this tank isn't frozen in 2026. New sensors, integrate them. New counter-drone electronic warfare, plug it in, software update to improve threat detection, push it across the network. Instead of waiting a decade for a massive rebuild cycle, upgrades can happen incrementally. And in a war defined by rapid adaptation, that flexibility might matter more than raw armor thickness. Now zoom out, because the real battlefield isn't just the tank, it's logistics. One of the least glamorous lessons from Ukraine: convoys die, fuel trucks, resupply vehicles, maintenance columns, they're soft targets. The legacy Abrams turbine is powerful but thirsty. The M1E3 prototype still runs that turbine, yes, but the program's trajectory toward hybrid electric integration is aimed directly at reducing fuel burden over time. Less fuel burned means fewer convoys, less exposure, lower operational signature. Logistics isn't cinematic, but logistics decides campaigns. If armored formations require fewer vulnerable support assets, their operational radius expands. They maneuver longer, they reposition faster, they survive deeper. That's not flashy, but it's decisive. Critics say drones ended the tank, cheap quadcopters versus million-dollar machines. So why double down? Because armor still delivers something drones cannot: sustained, protected, mobile firepower. Drones observe, they harass, they strike, but armored vehicles hold ground. They punch through defenses. They absorb punishment that would annihilate lighter systems. The M1E3 doesn't pretend drones don't exist. It assumes they do. Active protection, crew isolation, signature reduction, modular architecture. It's not trying to relive the Cold War, it's trying to survive the 2030s. And that's the difference. Prototype revealed January 2026. Soldier involvement expected later this decade. Fielding projected in the 2030s. That sounds distant. But doctrine evolves before hardware fully arrives. Training shifts, force structure shifts, procurement shifts. If NATO armored doctrine begins orienting around this concept, other militaries won't wait until 2035 to react, because the battlefield environment isn't static, it's iterative, and this prototype signals direction, not hype, direction. Picture Eastern Europe, 2035. Night. Recon drones scanning fields. They're hunting for heat. They find less. An armored unit moves, quieter than expected. An incoming missile is detected, intercepted midair. A loitering munition launches from the tank's own platform. An anti-armor team disappears before firing. The crew remains sealed inside a reinforced hull capsule, alive, operational. The turret takes damage. The soldiers don't. That's the concept. Not invincibility. Resilience. The M1E3 Abrams isn't designed to dominate the past. It's designed to interrupt the present, and whether you call that Russia panicking or a doctrine nightmare, it's undeniably a shift. So now the question is yours. Is this the blueprint for the next generation of armored warfare, or just an ambitious prototype? Smash like if advanced military tech interests you. Subscribe for daily deep dives into the system shaping future conflict. And drop your take below. M1E3 versus T14. Which design philosophy wins? Because the next era of armored warfare isn't about the heaviest tank. It's about the one that survives the sky.